Really, girls, you are both to be blamed, said Meg, beginning to lecture in her elderly sisterly fashion. You are old enough to leave off boyish tricks and to behave better, Josephine. It didn't matter so much when you were a little girl, but now you are so tall and turn up your hair, you should remember that you are a young lady. I'm not! And if turning up my hair makes me one, I'll wear it in 2 tails until I'm 20, cried Jo, pulling off her net and shaking down a chestnut mane. It's bad enough to be a girl anyway when I like boys' games and work and manners. I can't get over my disappointment in not being a boy. Poor Jo, it's too bad, but it can't be helped, said Beth. So you must try to be contented with making your name boyish and playing brothers to us girls. Well, hello! I'm Tiffany with Stitchin' Addiction, and I'm excited to finally share the next video in my Becoming Jo March project. If you're new here, I started this project in 2020 when I decided to make 7 historical outfits based on descriptions of Jo's clothing in Little Women. In my last video, I revealed Jo's scribbling suit and discussed several other outfits worn by Jo in chapters 8 through 15 of Little Women. I specifically discussed how I would be making Jo's Zave ensemble next, based on the characterization of Jo as both patriotic and tomboyish. As you can see, I'm wearing that finished outfit now. But along the way, I got distracted by several other outfits I hadn't planned to make. So in addition to sharing Jo's finished Zave ensemble with you in this video, I am going to share bonus content. These outfits were inspired by Jo's desire to be a boy and her active lifestyle, so join me today in exploring Victorian sporting fashions that Jo might have worn. But first, let's look at Jo's Zave ensemble, an outfit inspired by chapter 15 when she sacrifices her one true beauty, her hair, to earn money to send Marmee to see her injured father. Both the red Garibaldi blouse and Spanish or Zouave jacket seen in this ensemble are inspired by military fashions during the Civil War. Young women incorporated these pieces into their wardrobe to show their patriotism and support of the cause. For more details on the history and research of this outfit, watch the previous video in this series. This 3-piece ensemble is comfortable, practical, and the pieces can be used with other garments to create new looks. Stay tuned for later in the video when I show you a sporting activity for which this ensemble was worn historically. However, before I completed Jo's Zouave ensemble, I took 2 detours into Victorian sporting fashions. My first detour was in chapter 8. In that chapter, Jo goes ice skating with Laurie, and I started wondering what she would have worn for that activity. There's a fabulous book and traveling museum exhibit called Sporting Fashion Outdoor Girls, and through that book, I learned that women began ice skating as far back as the Regency period. Although Victorian women generally had an outfit for every activity, my research of illustrations and photographs indicated that ice skating did not generally require a specialized outfit. The bulk of the evidence seemed to indicate that most women just bundled up for the activity, as we would today. And since Jo would not have had the budget to make an outfit just to use for ice skating, I began researching how women dressed for winter and ice skating in the 1860s. Dressing warmly started from the inside out. Jo's daily dressing ritual would have begun with a chemise and drawers. Over this, she would have laced her corset and added long wool stockings. Although she might have worn a regular petticoat, she would have also added a flannel petticoat. A quilted petticoat consisted of 2 layers of wool flannel quilted together with batting between, and the quilted section often started a bit below the waist to eliminate bulkiness at the waistline. To make my quilted petticoat, I took a shortcut and bought a pre-quilted section of cotton flannel. Jo could have also worn a red flannel Balmoral petticoat. This style of petticoat was popularized by Queen Victoria and named after her favorite home. The red flannel would be decorated around the hem so that when the skirt was lifted during skating, the petticoat itself was a fashion statement. Over the undergarments, Jo would have worn one of her day dresses. These were often made of lightweight wool, so it would have further insulated her against the cold. If Jo's skirts were still hemmed an inch or 2 above her ankle, which they probably were in chapter 8, they were probably short enough to stay out of the way. However, if they were ankle length, she may have worn a skirt lifter to loop them up and keep them out of the way while she was ice skating. A skirt lifter consisted of straps descending from the waist with a loop at the bottom of each strap. The long skirt was pulled through these loops, creating a lovely scallop at the hem, shortening the skirt, and showing off the pretty petticoats beneath. I attached my skirt lifter to a Swiss waist, which was also fashionable at the time. On top of her day dress, Jo would have most likely added a paletote, a Victorian term for a type of coat, as well as some mittens, a scarf, and headwear. The paletote would have been made of wool, but the length could vary from hip length to calf length. I chose to make this one on the shorter side since it would be for a sporting activity and because illustrations and photographs of ice skating also show shorter paletotes. To make this paletote, I referred to an extant pattern from Peterson's magazine and used a wool flannel and silk lining. Fingerless gloves were common at the time. Mine here are made of an upcycled wool sweater and trimmed with vintage lace. You can make your own using my free tutorial and downloadable pattern. For the scarf and headwear, I chose an extant scarf and opera hood pattern from Godey's Ladies magazine, which Jamie of Historical Sisterhood has republished. Paige of Historic Nerdy Knits on Etsy knit this set for me with wool yarn. I have skated twice in a similar ensemble and found it just as warm as modern bundling up, and maybe even more so. It takes a bit of getting used to the weight of the skirts and petticoats around the legs, but for someone like Jo, who had never known the weightlessness of mere pants, she would have been used to it. My second detour into Victorian sporting fashion was inspired by Chapter 12. Which mentions Jo's scarlet and gray boating suit. Good enough for me. I shall row and tramp about, so I don't want any starch to think of. This description caught my imagination. It was so specific, especially with the colors, that I started to search for examples. Boating suit examples were surprisingly elusive. I found one example from 1872, but that would have been a full 10 years after this description of Jo's boating suit, and fashion changed during that time frame. What I did find were a series of early 1860s dresses for various sporting activities, and I focused on seaside dresses. Some of the details on these seemed nautical, which seemed appropriate. Many of these fashion plates indicate elaborate dresses full of detailing, but given Jo's practicality and her desire to row and tramp about in it, I felt Jo's dress would be more keeping with the simpler sporting dress examples that I had found. Since this dress had to be practical, I went with a cotton fabric. I chose a gray cotton sateen and accented it with a scarlet cotton sateen as well as red rayon midi braid. The nautical braid details are copied from both an extant croquet dress and this fashion plate, while the tie at the neck is inspired by the fashion plate. The belt is a replica of one found on a dress in Patterns of Fashion. The discovery of extant croquet dresses, as well as the game of croquet in Chapter 12, spurred me to create one last sporting fashion look. While dresses are seen used in photos and illustrations of croquet, the Garibaldi blouse, Spanish jacket, and skirt is also often seen in photos and illustrations of croquet. Since I had already created this outfit for Chapter 15, I decided to take it out and use it as a croquet sporting outfit for a delightful afternoon of croquet with my local costuming guild. I tried to wear my straw hat decorated with red ribbon with my outfit, but as you can see from my skirts, it was a windy day. Even with a hat pin, that straw hat would not stay on my head. This outfit was comfortable and practical for the event. Playing croquet while wearing a crinoline was a bit challenging, but women often wore skirt lifters and decorative petticoats for this activity to keep the skirts out of the way so they could play better. I hope you've enjoyed this bonus video and detour into Victorian sporting fashions. The next outfit in the Becoming Jo March series will be based on chapters 16 through 29 of Little Women, and I invite you to read them with me in preparation for the next video. Which outfit from those chapters do you think I'll be recreating? Let me know in the comments. This year, I am also hosting Little Women Winter, and I will be sharing several more videos in the Becoming Jo March series. In addition to the videos, there are all types of fun activities to do inspired by Little Women. Check out the Stitch and Addiction Instagram and Pinterest to participate. If you have enjoyed today's Becoming Jo March video, please check out the other videos on the Little Women playlist. Thank you to Dixie DIY for filming and editing today's video. If you liked my video today, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.